Well, thank you everyone so much for having us here today. It's great to be with you. My name is Caitlin Wiley, and I'm a program officer with the National Security Education Program. And my colleague Jeff Cary from the Institute of International Education is also here, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about the Boren Awards program. I myself was also a Boren Scholar back in 2018. I studied Portuguese in Brazil, so I can answer questions both from the program administration side and also from the student side if you're interested in anything, and I'll pass it over to Jeff for his introduction.
Hi, everyone. So I work for the Institute of International Education, and we administer the recruitment and selection and overseas support for Boren scholars and fellows on behalf of the Defense Language and National Security Education Office. I too was a Boren back in 2005. I went to Jordan to study Arabic and also parlayed that into a about 8-year career with the Foreign Service as a Foreign Service officer in the public diplomacy track. So I can tell you from my own personal experience, and this is true of uh, many of our alumni as well, that this process, this experience of studying overseas languages intensively through Boren is really critical to launching careers that take immediate advantage of those language and area studies skills, as well as all of the various subject matters that you all are studying. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a quick overview of what the program actually is, and then Caitlin is going to talk about what Boren scholars and fellows go on to do after they're done with their overseas study and their degrees. And then we will be around, of course, to answer any questions for you. So, very quick overview. The Boren Awards comprise both undergraduate scholarships and graduate fellowships. That's the difference between the first term and the second. But it is possible to apply for and receive both of these awards. You can receive this once as an undergraduate. You can receive it again as a graduate student at any level. So, master's, PhD, or another professional degree, although that is a bit less common. The maximum award amount for overseas study is $25,000, and that is for study that is 25 weeks or more. Unless you are an undergraduate STEM major, our strong preference is for 25 weeks or more because we have a lot of data to back up the assertion that the more time somebody spends in a particular country where a language is spoken, immersed in the study of that language, the quicker the progress they're going to make and the more advanced progress they will be capable of making in that language. I don't think that this is a hard sell for most of the people watching this presentation. You're already quite committed to language study. But I do just want to drive home the fact that we are really looking for people who want to commit longer term for language study. And even for undergraduate STEM students, there is the opportunity to go abroad just for the summer so as not to disrupt your fall or your spring courses. We know how difficult that can be, but it still does need to be fairly long term and language intensive. So at least 8 weeks long, and that would be eligible for up to $8,000. I can answer more questions about award amounts later on if folks would like. The basic eligibility requirements are fairly straightforward. You do need to be a US citizen at the time of application, but we have a lot of recipients of this award who are naturalized citizens of the United States. So if that applies to you, you should feel just as encouraged to apply. As long as your naturalization certificate is dated by the application deadline, you will be qualified to receive the award. You do need to be planning to study a language intensively. So that really needs to be the main thrust of your time while you're overseas. And it does need to be in an eligible region of the world. The Boren Awards emphasize less commonly studied countries and less commonly taught languages. So we are not sending people to what is traditionally known as Western Europe. We're not sending them to places like Canada, Australia, or New Zealand, where English is the primary language. But most of the rest of the world is a possibility, and we'll talk a little bit more about preferred countries in just a second. You do need to be in a degree program. So, for those of you perhaps who've heard of the Fulbright Award, perhaps our colleagues from the State Department will mention that when they present. You know that that's something you don't do until after you're done with your bachelor's degree. With Boren, you have to do it while you're still in school, and the school does need to say this person is a matriculated degree-seeking student. So you should apply while you're an undergrad, but you may also apply either while you're in graduate school or while you are applying to graduate school. Now, by the time you receive the award, you will need to be matriculated, but grad programs at the master's level can be fairly short. We do want to give you as many opportunities as possible to apply for this and receive the award. And then finally, you may not be a citizen of the country in which you're planning to study. So if another country would consider you a citizen, certainly if you have a passport from that country, do not propose to study there, suggest to study somewhere else. There are essentially two types of programs that we will fund for both undergraduate scholars and graduate fellows. And the first of these is what we would call a self-identified or a self-designed program. A lot more information on this and our selection preferences are on our website, so I would point you there to learn more. But I do just want to very quickly go over the main preferences that we have for this study. For our most popular languages including Mandarin Chinese, Russian, Arabic, Portuguese, Korean, we're looking for people to do self-designed programs. And for many of the programs that are taught through the WISLI set of programs, we are looking at probably self-identified programs. We have a strong preference for duration abroad, which I've already mentioned, 25 weeks or more, unless you're an undergrad STEM major. We also have a preference for certain countries. Now, the map that you see here on the screen, this is the map from last year. This may be adjusted slightly, but what I do want to drive home is that whether a country is blue or green, it is theoretically preferred. It's just the countries that are in blue, we really don't anticipate being able to send people in the coming academic year. Now, this is not really factoring in COVID, and we are sort of slowly beginning to permit people, as it is deemed safe to do so, to go abroad again. But for the 2022 cycle of application, I would encourage you just to go on the basis of where you want to go most to study a language. And then if you receive the award and there are complications, we will work with you to seek out alternative arrangements. We have preferences for certain languages. Those languages do need to be studied in the countries where they are primarily spoken, or at least the best alternative to that. So even if you can find a really good Arabic program, say in Poland, that would not be what we're looking for. But most of the languages that are being taught by WISLI are preferred languages for Boren. I will say that there are a few in both the South Asian and Southeast Asian institutes there that are not technically preferred, but the countries in which they're spoken, countries like India and Nepal, for example, are preferred countries. So even if you don't find your specific language on that list, you can still make a strong case for the national security rationale for studying that language. And then finally, we have a slight preference for certain fields of study. I won't belabor that now, but I'm happy to answer those questions later. As long, though, as you can see yourself in a career with the federal government, you'll do fine in the selection process, no matter what your field of study. The other type of program that we have besides the self-identified programs are what we call our regional flagship language institutes. And you may notice a similarity in the names of some of these, like SAFLI sounds an awful lot like SASLI, and that's probably because you are currently studying with students from the Boren-funded SAFLI program at the University of Wisconsin if you are enrolled separate from it. So with all of these regional language initiative programs, there is a summer domestic intensive program, either taught at Wisconsin in the case of SAFLI, IFLI, and TERFLI, which are there at the bottom, or the AFLI program summer is taught at the University of Florida. The fall overseas program then would be, again, lined up directly via IIE and some of the subcontractors that we work with. And these programs are very similar and in some cases identical locations to the programs, say, through the critical languages scholarship. So this will be very familiar to anyone who's researched those. These are credit bearing and they are available to people of all levels. So whether you are coming in as a beginner, an intermediate, or even an advanced speaker of these languages, it is possible to tailor the course to meet your needs. You also have the opportunity to extend into the spring. Okay, so what I've just given you all is the very brief overview of program structure. There's a lot more information on our website, including some longer webinars, so I would encourage you to watch those. But what we really are here to do is to promote all of the many ways in which advanced language and area studies knowledge can be useful to either informing or landing a position with the federal government. So I'm going to pass the baton to Caitlin, who works with our alumni in identifying these opportunities, to talk more about the work that she does.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So as Jeff mentioned, one of the critical things that really distinguishes the Boren Awards from a lot of other programs that just provide study abroad funding is this strong commitment to federal service. When someone receives a Boren Award, whether it's a scholarship or a fellowship, as a condition of accepting an award, you also make a commitment to serve in the federal government for at least a year upon returning from your overseas funded studies by Boren and completing your program, whether it's an undergraduate degree or a graduate degree. So specifically, there's a very strong emphasis on positions that have national security requirements. And there is a strong preference as well for the 4 agencies that you see on the screen here, which are the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, including the United States Agency for International Development, and the intelligence community, which is actually comprised of 18 different organizations, including the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, so on and so forth. So the majority of Boren scholars and fellows actually fulfill their service requirement within these 4 priority agencies. As part of that as well, NSEP provides a lot of resources and some special hiring authorities to help get Borens into these positions. And we'll actually go to the next slide as well. So in addition to those 4 priority agencies, which are the preferred top tier organizations that we really want to see Borens get into, it is also possible for former Borens to actually complete that service requirement in a few other federal agencies and positions with national security requirements as well. So some examples are places like the Department of Commerce, Department of Energy, Department of Treasury. All of those organizations do have a couple of their offices that have specialized intelligence responsibilities that really require people with foreign language proficiency and with lots of cultural expertise in various areas of the world. So they're really looking for people who bring skills to the table that former Borens have. Department of Justice, Borens have also fulfilled service by going abroad and completing a service as a Peace Corps volunteer, for example. Department of Agriculture. There are lots of different examples of where Borens have been able to get into a career in federal service that fits their interest and their backgrounds, that uses their language skills and their regional capabilities throughout the federal government. There are many places that need these kinds of skills. So if you're interested in seeing the full list that is on the Boren Awards website, there's a QR code in the upper right-hand corner of this slide here if you want to follow that, or just go to Boren Awards, Google search that website, and you can actually see a full list of where former Borens have completed service in the past for some examples of other locations. And we'll go to the next slide, please, Jeff.
And Caitlin, I do want to just point out, if you're on that page, there are embedded links in many of the names of those agencies that will lead you to the careers pages to learn more directly from them about these opportunities. It'll come in handy on your essays.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So some examples just of a very small sample of some job titles that former Borens have had include the Foreign Agricultural Service with the Department of Agriculture, Intelligence Research Specialist positions with the Department of State. You can see a few other examples here. Like I said, these are only a select handful. We see tons and tons of different job titles, lots of varying job responsibilities. Borens have fulfilled their service in internship positions, both in person and virtual in some cases, lots of different volunteer opportunities. It really is a very flexible service opportunity, and we see a great variety of positions where people are able to fulfill their service as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what are some of the other benefits of receiving a Boren. So specifically, the National Security Education Program actually has a dedicated service team that helps provide job search support and resources to Borens in order to get into these positions in the federal government. So some of the things that the service team does include posting exclusive and featured job opportunities on our website for past Borens, which is called NSEP.net. So we actually work with agencies to post exclusive job opportunities that are only available to NSEP award recipients, to former Borens basically, that are not open to the general public. So when Borens are applying to these positions, it's a very small pool of people that they're competing against, and they have a lot better chance of getting into an interview and possibly into a position through those exclusive jobs. We also feature a lot of positions that are posted on USA Jobs and through various contracting partners in some cases as well. All former Borens are entitled to special hiring authorities for other federal jobs. So that actually allows Borens to be hired more easily into a lot of federal positions and really creates a pipeline for these federal agencies to bring Borens in much more quickly. They don't have to go through all of the same processes that they would normally have to do to advertise a job to the general public. So that's a huge advantage for former Borens. In addition, there's also the Federal Employment Hiring Seminar. So after Borens have completed their overseas studies and they're back in the United States, there's an all expenses paid trip to Washington, D.C. We normally do a big in-person event that's a couple days long. We talk all about the service opportunity, ways to fulfill service, lots of career advice and tips. There are speakers from the 4 priority agencies who come to talk about opportunities within their agencies. And there's actually a job information session where we bring employers to meet with former Borens and to talk about opportunities in their agencies as well, and sometimes extend job offers on the spot, which is very exciting. There's also a Boren Alumni Association called the Boren Forum that connects former Borens with lots of resources and networking opportunities. And the NSEP service team provides resume consulting. We do resume and cover letter reviews, mock interviews. We do regular webinars about how to utilize the special hiring authorities, crafting a resume, interview tips, all sorts of things to help Borens get into jobs. All right, so back over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Caitlin. So I just want to finish the sort of overview of the application process. The application is going to open in a little less than a month, mid-August. So you will have a lot of time to work on it between next month and when it's due at the beginning of 2022. But please don't sleep during that time because these are very, very intense processes that you need to put yourself through, and also people that you need to contact to support you in the process. There are 2 application essays. Now, these 2 essays are a bit different from what you might see on a graduate school application or, say, an application for a Fulbright Award. It's not exactly a personal statement in the way that other essays ask you to write about yourself. What we are more interested in is whether you have a perspective on the national security ramifications of the subject matter that you study and of the language and country that you are interested in studying. That is the first essay. It's essentially an analytic paper showing that you understand the relation to U.S. national security of something that you are academically interested in. There's a lot more guidance again about that on our website. The second essay talks about a couple of things. First, it looks at your resilience and your adaptability. It asks you to give some examples from your past, but they don't necessarily need to be overseas. There are a lot of analogous things that we do in our lives to build that cross-cultural competency and to navigate new environments and new cultures, just, in our lives in the United States. So there are a lot of ways that you can tackle that. But essay number 2, the meat of it is talking about a career path that you would like to pursue in the federal government. And we are requiring that people work for the federal government for at least a year after receiving a Boren Award. But ideally, we want to select people that have a longer term, more passionate interest in pursuing those careers. And so doing some research via those links we talked about earlier into the short, medium, and long-term steps that you can take to develop the knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary for those careers really helps convey to the selection committee that you have that serious commitment we're looking for. And please take advantage of some of the other resources that you have, not just on your various college campuses, but also via the diplomats and residents that are near you. I mean, they can definitely clarify State Department careers at the very least, but they also work with multi-agency country teams and can give you an idea of where somebody with your particular set of interests might be best suited in the federal government. Okay, we do require at least 2 letters of recommendation for undergrads and 3 for grad students. These can be a combination of professional and academic, but they should be people who know you well. We need transcripts for all of your collegiate level study, and we would like to see a description of your study abroad program. And there on the right-hand side, you can see kind of the general tips we have for putting together a cohesive application. But as I said, there is a lot more guidance available on our website, so we would encourage you to track that down as well. As I said, the deadline is quite a ways off. It's not going to be until the last week of January for graduate students and the first week of February for undergrads, but that time moves quickly. So right now is the time to start thinking about where you'd like to go, to start researching federal career paths that you might want to pursue, and to start engaging with your Boren campus representative at your university and with the recommenders that are going to be writing letters for you. You can also contact us directly. bourne@iie.org is an email address we use. We try to respond to that within 1 business day. So please give us any questions you have, even if they're simple, but especially if they're complicated. You can also call us at that 1-800 number there. And hopefully all of you have a phone nearby and are seeing a big QR code on the screen. The reason we put that there is I know that you are all from different universities around the country. So I want you to know who is on your campus to assist you through the campus process and to support you during your application for the Boren Awards. Engaging these people early on is going to definitely give you a leg up on the competition because they have seen other folks in your situation and know a lot of valuable things about how you can make your application stand out. So those are all the points that we wanted to tackle in our section, and I will go ahead and pass it back to our moderators. Thank you.